What's up and welcome to Versus Battle Cards. Today we have a battle between some of the biggest and bestest bosses in cartoons. We have Benson Dunwoody from Regular Show and Eugene Gar from OKKO Let's Be Heroes. These two middle-aged managers fumbled their dreams, fumbled their girls, and ended up in a dead-end job. But it's through this dead-end job that they found a new life and a new purpose, watching over a bunch of goofballs. Now they'll do whatever it takes to protect their business. So who would win in a fight between these two? According to the Discord poll, it's actually a tie. Been a while since we've had one of those, though Benson does have some super votes. We'll have to see if those votes knew something that we didn't. Let's find out who wins. Before working at the park, Benson Dunwoody was actually one of the greatest drummers in the world, drumming for one of the greatest bands in the world. One solo he can perform is so intense it could even ignite his own skeleton. And when completed, it creates a massive shockwave that knocks everyone off their feet. But aside from his drumming, Benson's greatest attribute is his rage. This dude gets mad. The higher his anger rises, the more powerful he becomes, to the point where he transforms into a Super Saiyan pretty much, with an aura that disintegrates everything that floats towards it, gaining the ability to shout so loud that he can even turn his victims deaf. His next greatest asset is simply the fact that he's the boss. His managerly status can pretty much rewrite reality itself. For example, the Book of Park Records. Benson can only write the truth in there, but if for some reason he decides to lie, reality will change its course to match the events written in the book. It only works if you have every page of the book and the cover, so be careful. One thing Benson doesn't have to worry about though is his book of house rules. The power of Benson's house rules are so important that they can even govern a space where rules are not allowed, not even the rule of time. And this works even if there's only a single page present. Then finally there's Benson's ability to just throw hands. Teaming up with Mordecai and Rigby, he was even able to master Death Kwon Do. Benson also has a sentient fancy suit that can help his fighting skills even further, and even increase his durability and strength. Benson ain't the only bad boss here though. Eugene Gar's entire main thing literally is throwing hands. Or should I say elbows. With his professional wrestling skills as Elbow, he got noticed and accepted by the biggest superhero group known to man, Point. He can elbow dive, double elbow dive, elbow uppercut, shoulder bash, he even has a blowtorch in his elbow somehow. It's not just wrestling though, he has other powers too, like the power to levitate, he can create fires and explosions, and he even has some mild transmutation. And like a video game character, he can even level up and become stronger as he's fighting. This is thanks to the natural life force of the OKKO world called Glorbs. Not only do these things grant life and power, but they're also an explanation for why Toon Force exists. It's why Mr. Gar can squash, stretch, shapeshift, or even regenerate from a pile of ash. Then finally there's this cool flying rocket car. But no matter how cool it is, I'm gonna have to give the Arsenal category to Benson. Mr. Gar's moveset is very impressive, especially with his Toon Force, but Benson is able to pretty much match half of what he can do just with Death Kwon Do alone. Add his rage, drumming, and multiple reality warping books on top of that, and it's easy to see how even Toon Force powers would have trouble measuring up. Let's see what the YouTube predictions are thinking though. For speed, we only really need to focus on two specific feats, because they are just far above anything else in their show by a long shot. Benson was able to help pilot the Hyperduck Kingbreaker White Lightning, which was able to catch the Galaxy Sword, traveling from outside our solar system. It got to them in about 5 seconds, so that's Benson piloting a machine that can react at about 16.9 quadrillion miles per hour, or about 22 trillion times the speed of light. Mr. Gar, on the other hand, should scale to KO and Enid, whose reaction timing is so quick they can pilot a space bike to another nebula about 1,300 light years away in under a minute. This should result in speeds of over 470 quadrillion miles per hour, or 628 trillion times the speed of light, about 28 times faster than Benson. Mr. Gar takes speed. Benson's not letting himself fall behind when it comes to power, though. Both his anger and reality warping books have threatened the entire park on multiple occasions, and that hyperduck he was piloting, he survived its final attack and destruction which wiped the surface of the planet. He should also be physically on par with Mordecai and Rigby, who survived the destruction of Pops' planet. And he should be somewhat comparable to both Pops and Anti-Pops' base forms, surviving attacks from both of them. Their base forms can also survive black holes and cause supernovas by flying into stars. Mr. Gar should be superior to villains like Lord Boxman, who can survive his entire factory exploding, and he can even destroy any of his robots who could threaten the entire plaza. And he should be on par with other villains like Professor Venomous, who with Fink could destroy their own planet, or Cosma, who could eat entire planets. But that's about where it stops, and Benson takes strength, able to handle foes who could destroy stars and possibly threaten the entire solar system, while Mr. Gar only handles planet busters. That's at least 1,000 times power difference. But let's see what the Discord predictions think. The final category goes to Mr. Gar. Now don't get me wrong, Benson is very skilled and experienced. He has a lot of different talents in drumming and stick hockey and even managing a park, doing so for over 10 years. But Mr. Gar comes from a world where becoming a hero to destroy villains is the best thing you could be. He spent his whole life excelling specifically in the realm of combat. His fighting ability was great enough to get him noticed by Point, the greatest superhero team on the planet, and his heroic attributes were noticed by even the president of the entire universe. The president of the universe even calls on Mr. Gar sometimes to complete special secret missions. However, I don't think fighting Benson is a special mission that Mr. Gar would be able to complete. The winner is Benson. Now don't get me wrong, it would be a very hard fight. Mr. Gar is super impressive, being nearly 30 times faster than Benson. But Benson is nearly 1,000 times stronger than Mr. Gar. Gar has some incredible fighting moves and has been fighting for ages. But Benson can throw some pretty good hands himself, especially with Death Kwon Do and his suit, and he's used to this over-the-top nonsense on a regular basis. His reality warping books especially would be a good counter to Gar's Toon Force. While Gar may be able to regenerate from even a pile of ash, Benson's power advantage is so great that he likely wouldn't even leave a pile of ash to regenerate from. Benson is the winner. But let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with this outcome? And thank you for predicting in this episode. Be sure to predict the next one with a comment down below, a comment in my Discord server, voting in the Discord poll, or making a video prediction. For the next time, their powers and abilities may not match up too well, but their stories, their hearts, and their will to fight couldn't be more alike. Little orphan girls who were shunned by society, seen as monsters who bring only destruction. But with the wisdom from the rare ones who cared, they were able to grow up, form loyal crews, and protect and eventually gain the respect and admiration of those who once shunned them. It's Captain Beto from Genshin Impact versus Master Tigress from Kung Fu Panda.